This is a special edition of Meet the Press with Tim Russell.
Our issues this Sunday: Obama wins Iowa.
Thank you, Iowa.
Clinton wins New Hampshire.
Let's give America the kind of comeback that New Hampshire has just given me.
Next stops, Nevada and South Carolina. Our Meet the Candidates 2008 series continues. An exclusive interview with Democrat Hillary Clinton. For 12 years, she was the First Lady of the state of Arkansas. For 8 years, the First Lady of the United States. And in 2000, was elected the United States Senator from New York. This morning, Hillary Clinton joins us for the full hour on Meet the Press.
Senator Clinton, welcome back to Meet the Press.
Thanks, Tim. It's good to be with you.
When we arrived in South Carolina yesterday, this was the state newspaper and the headlines that greeted us, and let me share it with you and our viewers. Clinton camp hits Obama, attacks painful for black voters, many in state offended by criticism of Obama and remarks about Martin Luther King. Bob Herbert in the New York Times columnist weighed in this way. I could also sense how hard the Clinton camp was working to undermine Senator Obama's main theme, that a campaign based on hope and healing could unify rather than further polarize the country. So there was the former president chastising the press for the way it was covering the Obama campaign and saying of Mr. Obama's effort, quote, "The whole thing is the biggest fairy tale I've ever seen." And there was Mrs. Clinton telling the country we don't need, quote, "false hopes," and taking cheap shots at, of all people, the Reverend Dr. Martin Luther King Jr. We've already seen Clinton surrogates trying to implant the false idea that Mr. Obama might be a Muslim and perhaps a drug dealer to boot. What is this all about?
Well, beats me, because there's not one shred of truth in what you've just read, and I regret that, because obviously a lot of people have been given information or an impression that is absolutely false. First, with respect to Dr. King, Tim, I was 14 years old when I heard Dr. King speak in person. He is one of the people that I admire most in the world. And the point that I was responding to from Senator Obama himself in a number of speeches he was making is his comparison of himself to President Kennedy and Dr. King. And there is no doubt that the inspiration offered by all three of them is essential. It is critical to who we are as a nation, what we believe in, the dreams and aspirations that we all have. But I also said that, Dr. King didn't just give speeches. He marched, he organized, he protested, he was gassed, he was beaten, he was jailed. He understood that he had to move the political process and bring in those who were in political power. And he campaigned for political leaders, including Lyndon Johnson, because he wanted somebody in the White House who would act on what he had devoted his life to achieving. So I think it's important to set the record straight. Clearly, we know from media reports that the Obama campaign is deliberately distorting this. And, I think we should just take a step out here for a minute. This is the most exciting election we've had in such a long time, because you have an African-American, an extraordinary man, a person of tremendous talents and abilities running to become our president. You have a woman running to break the highest and hardest glass ceiling. I don't think either of us want to inject race or gender in this campaign. We are running as individuals. We are making our cases to the American people. And it's imperative that we get the record and the facts straight, because people are entitled to have that information. But I have no intention of either, doing something that would move this race in a wrong way, or, frankly, standing by when I think tactics are being employed that are not in the best interests of our country.
Barack Obama, clearly leading in the polls here, again ridiculed Clinton's assertion that he peddles false hopes, saying hope has driven great American accomplishments such as the civil rights movement.
Dr. King standing on the steps of the Lincoln Memorial. This dream thing, it's a false hope. We can't expect equality. False hopes.
Clinton told Fox this in response.
Dr. King's dream began to be realized when President Lyndon Johnson passed the Civil Rights Act of 1964, when he was able to get through Congress something that President Kennedy was hopeful to do. President before had not even tried. But it took a president to get it done.
Today, Senator Obama used President John F. Kennedy and Dr. Martin Luther King Jr. to criticize me. And, you know, basically compared himself to two of our greatest heroes, saying, well, they gave great speeches. President Kennedy was in the Congress for 14 years. He was a war hero. He was a man of great accomplishments and readiness to be president.
Now, what do you make of that very well-crafted answer by Hillary Clinton? Is it enough?
Well, we'll see if it's enough, but that well-crafted answer happens to be grounded in fact. Listen, anyone who has studied the civil rights movement or cares anything about it knows that the civil rights movement didn't get started with the I Have a Dream speech. It got started in the 1950s and moved along. I Have a Dream speech was the pinnacle, but anyone who knows about this history knows that while Martin Luther King was giving speeches and getting arrested and being attacked by white supremacists, he also had a dialogue with the White House trying to push for legislation. That speech at the Lincoln Memorial, I Have a Dream, was in Washington for a reason. Facing the other end of the mall was the Capitol, where Congress was. That speech was a message to the President of the United States and the Congress of the United States and the people of the United States that, in King's words, my people need to be free. And the only way that they were going to be free was if Congress and the White House worked together to pass legislation to make sure that African Americans were free.
That said, do Obama supporters have a right? Are they justified in being upset?
They're justified in being upset if what they're hearing is mischaracterizations of what Senator Clinton and President Clinton have said.
He doesn't need to play this kind of games. Is
it going to cost him?
Absolutely. I don't think we should be playing the race card at this point.
I don't think we should be playing the race card at any point.